Some franchisors are evil, and they just don't deserve your hard-earned investment dollars. But to find out which ones do, stay right here. With so many franchise opportunities on the market today, how could you possibly know who is a good franchisor partner for you? First of all, you don't have to figure this out on your own. I am a franchise consultant. I offer a free service that will match the best franchises to your background, interests, skills, finances, and goals. But now let's get into the top 5 qualities of a franchisor that deserves you. Number 5, a franchisor with a strong track record in franchising. So every good franchise company is in a business that it's in an industry, but then it also is now in the franchise industry. A franchisor that's worth your investment must have leadership experience in building and supporting the infrastructure of a franchise business. Because if the brand catches momentum and takes off really fast, but the franchisor is not experienced in how to support that growth, the whole thing may implode. You do not want to be a part of a franchise that goes through those kind of growing pains. It's very important that your franchisor partner has not only industry experience in the industry the business is in, but also franchise development experience so that you can know that your development as a franchisee will be adequately supported. Number 4, a franchisor with strong financial backing. When people hear the word private equity, especially W-2 employees who've lost a job when the company they were working for was bought out by private equity, people get really nervous. But in franchising, when we hear private equity, we say, oh yeah, because what that means is money, 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 and it takes money to make money. If a franchisor wants to grow a brand quickly, and look, you want to be a part of a brand that's growing quickly. Nobody wants to invest in a franchise that limps along. That's never going to be a real brand that has loyalty, that has that sizzle, right? If you want to be a part of a fast-growing, fun franchise brand, it's really important that the franchisor partner has adequate financial backing. That money may come from private equity, which is a good thing in franchising. That money also may come from corporate stores. Sometimes a franchise business has been around for many years with multiple corporate stores that produce a lot of revenue. And those corporate stores can support the growth of the entire franchise as it gets up and going. There are lots of different ways for a franchise to be adequately funded. The most important thing is that the franchisor has adequate funding. Now, you can check out a company's financial standing in their franchise disclosure document. You can find that information in item 21 of their FDD. Number 3. A strong franchisee-franchisor culture. When you invest in a franchise, you are buying a relationship that has to feel mutually beneficial, where the franchisor genuinely cares about their franchisees, you. And that culture should be evident from the first call. I work with some candidates who, after the first blind date, come back to me and say, I love the culture of company X, because they're getting a sense of that right from the beginning. You have to believe that's a really strong culture if it becomes evident even on the first call. But mostly, you're really going to take in the culture of a franchise when you're at that confirmation day or discovery day, where you're there in person, you're in the corporate offices, you're meeting all of the support staff and all of the executive leadership team. You're going to get a sense of how it feels to be in their presence and the relationship that they have among each other and how welcoming that feels to you. That relationship is very important. The culture of a franchise can also be validated out by talking to the other franchise owners. And that leads me to point number 2, strong franchisee validation. In a franchise, one of the greatest advantages we have exploring franchise businesses is talking to the other franchise owners, the people who've already said yes to this decision that you're trying to say yes to. They have the answers to all of the questions and concerns that you have. They are one of the biggest assets and greatest resources during your due diligence process. It is their validation of that culture. It is their validation of the training, the support, the opportunity, the vision of this franchise that will enable you to get up that full learning curve and to feel confident that you're going to make a decision that you're ultimately going to feel good about. So invest time talking to franchisees. Don't skip that step because you feel like you know what you need to know in order to say yes. Talk to at least a couple of the franchisees, again, to validate the culture, to validate that this franchisor really does have your best interest at heart. Number 1, what is your gut telling you? All during the process, I'm going to ask you to push your emotions aside and get the facts. Because if we allow our emotions to lead the way in the beginning, if our emotions are negative, they're only going to lead us down preconceived notion trails and trails where you will not be able to hear the answers to the questions you're asking. If you're leading with positive emotion and you're too excited about the opportunity, chances are you're going to peak in your emotion before you peak in the logical data, and then your emotions start to wane and you can't get excited about it again at the end, and then you feel like, what's missing here? This isn't the right opportunity. So controlling your emotions during your due diligence process is key to the whole thing. But at the end, after you've gone to discovery day, now you have all of the data that you can have in order to say yes to this opportunity. Now I want you to check in with yourself and say, what am I really feeling inside? I prepare all of my candidates that when they get on that plane returning from that discovery day, they're gonna know whether this is a yes or a no. Now, if it's a yes, they may not be willing to admit that out loud quite yet, but they're going to know. And that's why within 24 to 48 hours of a discovery day, I'm going to make them tell me yes or no. Because if you sit on that decision for too long, all you're going to do is spiral down and talk yourself out of it. But if you check in with yourself during that discovery day, if you check in with yourself during validation with other owners, if you check in with yourself during the preliminary calls with the franchisor, as you're getting the facts of the franchise, you're asking questions and you're hearing the answers, how do those answers make you feel? For years, I have always said that saying yes to a franchise investment is the logical thing to do when you've asked enough questions and you're satisfied with enough of the answers. There's never going to be a perfect business or a perfect time. And trust me, you are never going to feel 100% sure that this is what you want to do. But if you want the outcome that this business affords, you have to be willing to push through those feelings. So now at the end of your process, when you have all of the information and you've done these tiny little check-ins all along the way so that you've managed to get to the end of the process, now's the time to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, how does it feel? If your gut is telling you that these people are amazing and they genuinely seem to have your best interest at heart, that they could be the partner for you, and you want the outcome, then you have to push through those final fears and say yes. But if at the end of everything you've done, you're still feeling a little uneasy about it, then be honest with your feelings. I'd rather you take an extra moment to work through those to see if that uneasiness is just fear or if it really is based in something else. Not every great franchisor out there is the right franchisor for you, but that's why you have me. I am a franchise consultant. I have 20 years of experience, relationship, and knowledge to offer you. My services are free, and I really want to be your daily coach. If you are motivated to begin your journey, please follow the email on the screen below.